The president has now made his way to the podium. Let's listen in.
Please be seated. Thank you. It's not only a beautiful day, this is, in my view and the view of my team, a momentous day. It's a very, very good day. Today, I'm proud to welcome and offer the strong support of the United States for the applications of two great democracies and two close, highly capable partners to join the strongest, most powerful defensive alliance in the history of the world. Two proud, independent countries exercising the sovereign rights all states possess to decide their own security. President Nisto, you are, and Prime Minister Anderson, it's a great honor to have both of you here at the White House as Finland and Sweden began the process of joining NATO. It was out of the wreckage of World War II that NATO was formed. And in 7 decades that followed, NATO has proved itself an indispensable alliance, committed to a Europe whole, free, and at peace. But in recent years, doubts began to arise. Was NATO still relevant? Was it still effective? Is it still needed in the 21st century world? Today, there is no question. NATO is relevant. It is effective, and it is more needed now than ever. The indispensable alliance of decades past is still the indispensable alliance for the world we face today, and I would argue tomorrow as well. And the decision of Sweden and Finland, the one they have made, is testament to that commitment. This is about the future. It's about a revived NATO that has the tools and resources, the clarity and conviction to defend our shared values and lead the world. Sweden and Finland are already among our closest partners on a range of issues, from strengthening peace and stability to advancing human rights, to taking on the climate crisis and addressing food insecurity, from strengthening the global health to promoting development. Finnish and Swedish troops have already served shoulder to shoulder with U.S. and NATO forces in Kosovo, in Afghanistan, and in Iraq. And both Finland and Sweden are already working in coordination with the United States and our other allies and partners to support the brave people of Ukraine as they defend their freedom against Russia's invasion. Sweden and Finland have strong democratic institutions, strong militaries, and strong and transparent economies, and a strong moral sense of what is right. They meet every NATO requirement, and then some. And having 2 new NATO members in the High North will enhance the security of our alliance and deepen our security cooperation across the board. Today, the President, the Prime Minister, and I had a very good discussion about NATO accession, about the war in Ukraine, and strengthening transatlantic security. But our conversations began well before today. President Nisto and I spoke last December and again in January and the weeks leading up to Russia's unjust and unprovoked assault on Ukraine. In March, the President came to the White House to see me, to discuss this brutal conflict and the rupture it's causing in Europe. While we were in the Oval Office together, we picked up the phone and we called the Prime Minister. And the 3 of us all spoke. And we spoke again last week when I invited them to come to the White House today. We have consulted closely at every stage as Sweden and Finland made their determinations. And today I'm proud to assure them that they have the full, total, complete backing of the United States of America. Today, my administration is submitting to the United States Congress reports on NATO accession for both countries, so the Senate can efficiently and quickly move on advising and consenting to the treaty. I greatly appreciate Senator Schumer and McConnell's support, as well as Senator Menendez and Risch, to move this through the Senate as quickly as possible once the perspective of all allies are addressed and NATO adopts the accession protocols. The bottom line is simple, quite straightforward. Finland and Sweden make NATO stronger, not just because of their capacity, but they're strong, strong democracies. And a strong, united NATO is the foundation of America's security. By joining NATO, allies make a sacred commitment to one another, that an attack on one is an attack against all. It's Article 5 of the Washington Treaty and the core building block of our alliance. And the only time in history Article 5 has been invoked was after 9/11, when the United States was attacked and all our allies rallied to our side. The United States will never forget that, and we will never fail in our pledge to defend every single inch of NATO territory. I welcome Sweden and Finland choosing that responsibility as well. This is going to benefit all of our people. And today, the President, Prime Minister, and I committed that we're going to work together to remain vigilant against the threats to our shared security and deter and confront any aggression while Finland and Sweden are in this accession process. There's nothing going to be missed, as my mother would say, between the cup and the lip. We're in once it is moving forward. I really mean it. I really mean it. So let me be clear. New members joining NATO is not a threat to any nation. It never has been. NATO's purpose is to defend against aggression. That's its purpose, to defend. And let no one make a mistake. The meaning of this historic day. In the face of aggression, NATO has not grown weaker or more
All right,
divided.
listening in there to the president as he hosts the Swedish Prime Minister and Finnish President there, as those two nations have applied to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, better known as NATO.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.